This week's fight over the next Speaker of the House might be a signal of what's to come from the lower chamber of Congress this session. Illinois state lawmakers could do something about the gas tax during their lame duck session. And the Quad Cities has the first person to hold a statewide office in Iowa after more than 50 years. We'll get to that this morning with Scott County Democratic Party Chair Matt Trimble and former Rock Island County Republican Party Chair Bill Bloom. Nice to see you both. Let's start right away with Iowa and new state treasurer Roby Smith of Davenport. Smith told Sarah Watson of the Quad City Times he wants to modernize the office and would like the state to establish a tax-free savings program to help people with a down payment on their first home. Watson also points out Republican state treasurers in some other states pulled their state's investments out of companies that concentrated on environmental and social issues. I guess, how significant is it for the Quad Cities to have someone local in this office? And what concern should there be about making investment decisions based on politics? Bill?
Well, I think it's a big deal. Roby Smith is from Scott County. He's the first Scott County resident to be elected to statewide office in 50 years. He's got a great background in finance and banking. He also, since he's been in government, he understands the difference between legislation and regulations passed by other departments. I think his idea on helping people get to a first home is a noble one. And as far as ISG is concerned, his priorities are to focus on return on investment, which should be good for Iowa public pension programs, and his other priority is protecting businesses in Iowa that are based in Iowa. So I think I'm not too concerned about the ISG business. I think his priorities are right.
Not worried about politics making investment decisions. What about you, Matt?
Well, I have a special fondness for Roby Smith in my heart. Had a conversation with him in early 2021 when he was eviscerating the voting rights in Iowa for people who have any challenge getting to a ballot box. So he set an example for how to rewrite Iowa code with the help of the Heritage Foundation, which is an ultra-conservative organization that's not to be trusted with power. So he's an extension of the Heritage Foundation. So one of the things that's really alarming about this guy is he defended an animal housing or a boarding small business owner, and advised this small business owner to threaten the state agent that was coming on to serve this guy with some papers about reports of animal abuse in his shelter. So Roby Smith got in the way of the state in that instance, defending a small business owner, and even went to the extent of saying, let them know that you've got a gun. I don't know if that's a quote, but that was the gist of what he was saying. So to have him running our state treasury is really scary. So I didn't vote for him. Lots of people in Scott County didn't vote for him. So hopefully he can't do the damage that he wants to do.
Very wide disparity on the opinions of Roby Smith there. Now to Illinois and the lame duck session underway. A few things could come up during the session. A possible assault weapons ban is getting the most attention, but we're going to talk about the gas tax. Remember, state lawmakers suspended the increase in the gas tax as part of their measures to address inflation in the current budget, but that expired in the new year, and the gas tax increased a few days ago. Republicans at the time it was passed called it an election year stunt. Now Republicans are behind a couple of proposals. One would roll back the increase, another would lower the gas tax rate altogether. Now, Illinois uses this tax revenue to pay for infrastructure projects. It also has the second highest gas taxes in the country. What about the idea to roll back the latest increase or make a more permanent reduction in the gas tax? Matt, you're first this time.
Well, Illinois Democrats have consistently and thoughtfully measured relief for average working people, including the tax-free days for school, freezing motor vehicle tax, grocery tax relief, continuing, unlike Iowa, where we aren't taxing retirement income. So it's representation without any taxation. So hopefully the lame ducks session will keep protecting working families and small businesses in Illinois.
What about this reversal from Republicans, though, Bill? Thought the gas tax was political when it was passed, and now the freeze, and now they're like all for it.
Well, I think I am not sure what Republicans are for and which ones oppose it. I think they were right originally that freezing the gas tax was a stunt, And my full expectation is that the easiest thing to do is to do nothing, and they're going to focus on limiting the Second Amendment in Illinois, and they're not going to do anything about extending the gas tax. So I think it'll go up.
All right.
And by the way, Illinois has the highest taxes per family after the state of California in the United States.
I mentioned they had the second highest gas tax. As we speak, there is no Speaker of the House on Capitol Hill. Some infighting among Republicans is keeping Kevin McCarthy from getting the job. That's keeping the House from starting the new legislative session and swearing in new members. Members of the Freedom Caucus are blocking McCarthy specifically. This is a small faction in the party, considered among the most conservative Republicans, and want to push the party further to the right. A majority of those opposing McCarthy also publicly denied the results of the 2020 presidential election. Now, former Ohio Governor John Kasich, who also served in the House of Representatives at one point, suggests moderate Republicans reach across the aisle to Democrats to form a coalition government. All right, a couple of questions here. What about Kasich's idea? Is it political blasphemy to consider a moderate solution? And how much do you see this fight from the Freedom Caucus as a signal of what's in store during this Congress? Bill?
Well, actually, I think the Freedom Caucus prioritizes maintaining the role of states, the constitutional role of states, and fighting against federal government encroachment. So I think they have some noble intent. I don't know if they're going to accomplish much with this current business. As far as a coalition of moderates, moderate Democrats can come across and help McCarthy get across the line to majority speaker. But if you look at the previous or the current administration, Democrats have a tendency to march in lockstep regardless of how bad and how expensive the legislation is. Republicans are a little more willing to fight against their leadership. It'll be interesting to see. I think if it goes on too long, the possibility of some sort of a moderate solution either way, either with moderate Democrats coming over or moderate Republicans going the wrong way, I think that's a possibility. I would hope that the Freedom Coalition will gain a few committee chairs and call it a day and claim victory, and then let McCarthy become the leader.
How do you respond there, Matt?
Well, I take issue with Mr. Bloom's characterization of Democrats and being unified and marching in lockstep. We're anything but. And what you have going on right now in the House, in the U.S. House, which is the People's House, is a gang of thugs have taken it over, and they have no interest in governing. The whole agenda is chaos. It presents as political theater from a third world nation. There's self-serving MAGA radicals that are going to continue to pander and to give away seats and leadership positions to people like Marge Green, who have no interest or skill at building coalitions or serving the American people. So contrast that with Hakeem Jeffries, the first black person to lead any leadership at that level in the House. We're unified. We're ready to serve. He got more votes than Mr. McCarthy. So I would say just 20 people come over, Republicans come over to him, and we're back in business, leading, doing the people's business. We have an example of partisanship or bipartisanship working with Biden and McConnell, working on the bridge, the Brent Spence Bridge between on the Ohio River between Kentucky and Ohio, a bridge that's been languishing for years, one of many in this country, finally getting attention. McConnell could have done it a long time ago, but he's the leader of the Senate who's working with a Democratic president to get some stuff done. So there's a serious example of what should be happening, and we have years of Nancy Pelosi's leadership, which is another example of what should be happening.
Well, I still think
Don't pander to the far extremes of your party. Just step up and do the people's business.
I think we can still expect a Republican to be the next Speaker of the House. Bill Bloom, Matt Trimble, thanks for the conversation. Both of you be safe.